I think one reason why we use case is actually to help students to engage. So I don't think there's any problem. I think the same thing that Terence mentioned about the assignment also applies. So I also do the same thing. You need to get a student prepared. But usually, like in my case, like out of a 50, 60 student class, you usually have like at least 1/3 of students prepared. So like I'm talking undergrads. MBA students are usually much better because they know the obligations, they know about cases. So if in undergrad class 1/3 of students are like well prepared, you already have a discussion, so you don't need to worry. And then I sometimes will embarrass those students who didn't prepare. So to set an example about not doing well, then they'll know like what's being expected. Of course, you need to like kind of embarrass them and then nurture them. So you are embarrassed, but next time please prepare, that kind of thing. So then like people will know what you expect in the class, and you'll be getting better. So I prepared something. Okay, so my job, according to what's being assigned by Anna, is to talk about my war stories, about how to get case written up, I suppose. Okay, and so I already heard a lot of questions firing up from particularly that side. So that side. So anytime you want to stop me, it's fine. I just want to tell you some examples. I brought tons of things that you guys may like. When I get to that, I'll maybe give it to you. Well, by the way, there are like books being written based on cases, so like things like that. So we'll talk about it. I guess you guys know about this already. Like it's a definition of case, but what I want to emphasize here is that like case doesn't need to be completely real, right? If you go to see a movie and the movie is completely real, it's going to be very boring, right? It's very boring. So the case is the same. I mean, when you write a case, it's to some extent fabricated facts to me, So it's a story. It's a story between you. Where like if I'm going to write a case, I'll always say that this is my case. You guys, like no matter who they are, like executives or entrepreneurs, you listen to me, and this is what I want to write. So most important, I think, is that you know what you want to do, and this is fabricated. And what you want to do is get the courses, get the teachings across, and make it exciting, make the student engaged. Okay, so I'll probably skip most of that. I guess you heard about that already. What is a good case? Make it real, about discussion, about attention. So to some extent, if you write a case like writing just a story, it's going to be boring because you just give the facts. So you need to give attention. Think about a movie, right? So there's a start, then the development, and then there's something problem. You get a solution, and in a case you want 1/3 of the people disagreeing with 2/3 of the people. Something like that. You want to do that, like this teaching. But when you write a case, you need to build that into consideration. And so Anna is passing a kind of process that this is not my process. I went to like 2008, 2005 or something. I went to Harvard with other people, and then this is the lecture notes from one of the instructor called Norm something. It may be there. Norm Wasserman. Yeah, he's a Jew. He had like 10 children, and then he's still producing like something that we don't want to learn. But so there are some solutions possible, like implying from the case sometimes, but depends on the difficulty of the case. The most difficult case, as you guys know, is like it's just talking about the issues, like going through like what's happening. But then you don't know the problem, you don't know the solution. And that's the most difficult case. So depending on the level of cases you are writing. So if an undergrad case, maybe you just want to have a problem and then maybe a couple of solutions for them to pick up. Okay, but if an MBA case has a long case, exam case, you may want it to be kind of ambiguous to get the challenge across and a lot of discussion. Usually in a case like the Harvard case, which is longer, you can use it in multiple ways, right? So if you have a device, the rest is this. What I want to do is, you have a device like a cell phone or a computer, whatever it is, bring it out, okay? Go to this website, Ivy School or Harvard School. So here, go to Ivy or HS Harvard, okay? And you'll see some cases. So these are my cases you can search, right? So I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to tell you some of my kind of wartime stories about how to get the case across and examples and challenges. So, well, you guys are not doing it? Go. I mean, go to Ivy or hbsp.com. Like then search me, Kevin Au, or search whoever, Terrence, Roger King, then you can get some of the cases. So this is free in a way. You can download it, but you're educator, you register, you can have an example of an educator copy, okay? But if you're not working in the educator institute, then you may need to pay, okay? So you guys are working on it. Okay, let me go to the wartime story. Is it okay now? HBSP, Harvard Business School, Publishing. Yes. So you should be able to see something like this. But this is for educator, for this one. So like Kenneth would be able to get access to the educator. If you are not, then you can't get into educator page. Okay? Now, some wartime story. Okay, motivation. Why do I want to start a case? So you guys must have a motivation. I don't know what is it, but I have several motivations when I start some of the cases. So I want to design a new program at that time. So I'm working for Hong Kong Design Center, and Hong Kong Design Center want to work with me at the Center for Entrepreneurship. Oh, by the way, I run the Center for Entrepreneurship and the Center for Family Business. So most of our cases are kind of related to these, all right? So there are some like smaller cases which are startup. There are some bigger cases which we work with more established family firms, for example, or VCs. So I have this commission with Hong Kong Design Center, and they want to like teach designers to write cases, to do business, because designers they traditionally, particularly the Hong Kong designers, they learn the most basic designs or graphic design and things like that, but they don't know how to run businesses. But most of the designers in Hong Kong actually run their own business. So there's a kind of a, they want to have a design incubation program. At that time, there's no incubation. I mean, they don't know what is incubation program. In fact, they want to run an incubation program. So we end up working with a number of different designers and write, I can't remember, you can find it in my website, search me. So for example, we wrote a case on Alan Yip and Winif Pan. Both of them are former chairman of Hong Kong Design Associations, okay? And the interesting case about this particular case is that we actually, when we started to write the case about Alan Yip and Winif, we actually want to write two separate cases to start with, because we thought Alan is interesting, Winif is interesting. But after we do the interviews and we do the planning, we end up thinking, well, if we contrast the two persons, it will be much more interesting. So we wrote a case called, I can't remember exactly the name, but basically contrasting the career of Alan Yip and Winif. Because, let me tell you what, Alan started off arguing that he's an artist. He said, I am basically a lone wolf. I do design, people buy my design, they like me, then I'll do it. Winif said that he started his career completely differently. He worked with a bunch of other people. He trained up people, and then he would cut orchestra. But if you talk to the two persons, we found out that actually both of them later on diverged into one approach, but they didn't want to admit it. So we wrote a case about career development of designers. So in the very beginning, we tried to kind of be provocative, saying, well, Alan is like a decorated designer, Winif a decorated designer. They have different choices. But so we started with it. So if you are a designer, which career path you want to pick? You want to Alan Yip or you want to be Winif? But actually, as you guys know, if you want to have a successful business, you can't be no wolf, or you can't be a person just working with other people. So you have to converge. So we use a case to illustrate this and let a young designer understand the dilemma and the necessity of being a successful designer. Okay, so that's how we think about. So we plan our planning is very different from the final product, but the case end up very nicely. I think we don't have time. I don't have time to show the video. Actually, we have a video case on this two-person and the cases here as well, because as you guys know, designers don't read. They flip and they look at graphics. So you give them a case to read, they will take 10 years to read, and many of them don't read it. And the Chinese and English actually are very poor, many of them, unfortunately. So we actually shoot a 10-minute video case. So if we are teaching for designers, we go and show them the video to set them up, and then we do discussions like what Terence told you about when we do the discussion. So, and sometimes if I have a class with ordinary people, ordinary students, I show them this, and then show them the video. So I can pass this to you. I have many copies of this, and the video case if you want to, but I'll just show you. This is like 5 or 6 cases we compile together into a book. I think he asked whether we could compile case books. So this is one example that we did. And then quickly, second, I also designed a program for social entrepreneurship for the Hong Kong SSC, Social Service Council, 寫聯. Okay, about 10 years ago, there's a topic arising on social enterprises, and no one knows what is social enterprises. So we venture out and we are Center for Entrepreneurship, right? So we have to walk the talk and say that, well, we know so how to teach social enterprises, but we actually don't know much. We know some, but then we add, but that's how cases are good, right? We venture out and then talk to different social enterprise and social entrepreneurs and learn from them, put together a program. So we have a set of social entrepreneurship cases now, which you can find on my website if you want to. And then this is a program, and then teach us topics. This is what happened when you have, say, a class that you designed, and then when you are going through, as like Terence said, like you want to update, or sometimes when you teach, you find that there's a gap, like in the design of a whole class that you couldn't find, like satisfying. So you may venture out to write a case yourself. So talking about the social entrepreneur program. So in the past, many of the social enterprises are actually what we call WISEs, Work Integrated Social Enterprises. So basically, social enterprises focus on reducing unemployment of disadvantaged groups. Okay, so we started off of that. But then as we develop the case, like more and more people, like the knowledge becomes spread, and more people become more focused on different kind of knowledge. So we have to update it. So one thing that's very important when you move up from WISEs, is to move on what I call social innovation, social enterprises. So WISEs focus on helping a disadvantaged group to make unemployment, right? To reduce unemployment. The objective is very clear. But as we know, there's many social problems in the world, right? It's not just unemployment of disadvantaged groups, discrimination, pollution, food, right? You name it. Poverty. So when you get to this social problem, the objective of knowing whether social enterprises are really doing good thing, making impact, become more fuzzy. Okay, so in social enterprises and social entrepreneurship, we have something to measure it. It's called social impact analysis, social impact assessment, something like that. But no cases in Hong Kong are being written up on that. So we can't teach, or we can't teach it with vigor, or with drawing the interest of people, right? I mean, like you want to get the students' attention. So I end up writing a case on Charles Soccer School Hong Kong. So that's the first like Hong Kong soccer school, like a soccer school to teach like kids, and now it's very famous. And I wrote the case also with another reason was because behind Charles Soccer School was a family office. Very large family office. It's called Lun Tai. So I'll get to that in a minute. But if you guys are interested, you can pass along. I have 2 copies here. So I want to write about like how family office does philanthropy, and then also how social assessment being made in soccer in Charles Soccer School. Because so a little background. Charles Soccer School teach kids to play soccer, right? And so what's good about kicking around the ball? What do you think? What do you want to play? What do you want to play? Do you play soccer? No. What do you play? Swim? Teamwork, sure. But tennis. So why do you want to play tennis? For fun. Health? Health. Fun. Teamwork, right? So it's more fuzzy. How do you measure healthcare? A better health. Do you feel better after playing tennis?
Yes.
Do you feel having more energy? How are you going to measure it? Whether after playing soccer you are better. So anyway, sorry, just like you said that example. So it's not easy to some extent to measure whether social enterprises like Charles Soccer Zoo is making social impact. Okay? So another one that I'm going to write with Rebecca is Konica Minolta. Minolta Konica? Konica Minolta. Konica Minolta. Okay, so we are going to write it. So Konica Minolta had a program, what we call intra-social entrepreneurship. So you guys heard about intrapreneurship. Intrapreneurship is like large corporations making innovation, right? So Konica Minolta did something for, you know what they're doing, they do photocopying and things like that. They set up a small branch for like lonely youth, okay, to make copies during nights because they don't sleep, right? So they thought this is like innovation to help the lonely youth. Hidden youth, yes, hidden youth. So, but it ended up very successful. They started with one machine, 2 hours, become 8 hours, become a number of different machines filling up the whole room. And so successful that now they have to open a new floor for this business. Okay, starting from a social mission to just help the hidden youth. And then the most important thing is, Konica Minolta is a multinational company. The global CEO now come to Hong Kong to learn what happened. Why would the Hong Kong branch be so successful to implement such a social innovation and become able to expanding it? So that's what we want to write. And corporate social entrepreneurship is something unexisting at the moment, case in Hong Kong. So I want to write about it. Okay? Part of an academic research program. So I did a program called STEP. STEP stands for Successful Transgenerational Entrepreneurial Practices. So basically trying to understand how family can do much better across generations. So I have a bunch of friends here and they are like experts in family business, so they come. And so we have this program, so we study family business and we write in-depth case studies. And so we wrote about this case in Thai, for example, you guys written, is about it. So I started off with an academic interest. We want to understand family business. But then since you're writing the academic in-depth case study, well, if there's a byproduct called teaching case, maybe we may well to write it. So I end up writing some like teaching cases and some academic cases. I'll probably talk about Formosa Classic a little bit in a minute. Okay, lastly, perceived gap, as I said. So we may be able to see some gaps in, sometimes you feel angry, right? Not angry, but impatient about something you want to teach. Or you want to show people an exemplar practices. Or of course some problem also behind it. So I'm going to write a case on knowledge transfer at Chinese University. So there are two professors. One is called Dennis Low. The other is called Liu Yunhui. Okay. So Dennis is an expert in biochemistry, and Liu is an expert in robotics. And they have successful spin-off from Chinese University, but there's no case talking about how they do it, what's the problem behind, and so I'm going to write about it. Yes?
Could you talk about what are the challenges of converting a research case into a teaching case in the STEM program, and also what are the things or techniques that you need to have in order to do the conversion?
I don't see much difficulty. Well, I think it's usually you need to perceive. I guess one thing is when but it's come naturally because when I'm doing the academic case, I already have a problem in mind. So it becomes much easier for me to translate that problem into teaching. And comparing to maybe in some of you who may not have academic question in your mind. But of course, I guess most of you are teaching or have something you want to teach. So there's something you want to student to learn. So that may be the question you want to get from the when you're writing a teaching case. Yeah. Other than that, I think I don't think there's a like much challenge here from research to teaching. Of course, the teaching, when you're writing a teaching case, the writing is different, like the style and things like that, but I think the guest speakers already talked about it. Okay, I don't know whether I answered your question, but I will maybe get to it. Okay, sources. Anna asked me the challenges. Well, the challenges sometimes is like you have the idea, right? You want to drive, but where can you get it? Okay, so several sources. One, serendipity. I wrote a case on TSL with Howard. And you know how I get the idea? You didn't know. Did I tell you?
I think you met Annie in a social occasion.
Yes, so there was a dinner organized by the Chinese University Business School. And it just happened that they have a table with a lot of family business. And so I sat down and then I figured out that, wow, that's TSL, the jewelry company. And then I was thinking, well, there may be a chance that we could have a case possibility. So we chit-chat and then I got them motivated. And then they said, oh, that's interesting. Let me run a case. And I can tell you, most of the entrepreneurs, particularly if they're successful, they have an urge to tell you their heroic stories. Okay? Everyone wants to tell their stories. So once you spark them into talking about their success, they can't stop. And then you can pitch them and say, let's write a case on you. I can use it for teaching MBAs, undergrads. And most of the cases, they will say yes. All right? So former students, Jay Link, I taught this student, Ken Chung, and he later on, he set up a company. He was in Shanghai, and then he saw me, in a magazine or something. Then he thought it's a good idea, so he knocked on my door to give me his case. So I say yes. Okay, so his case is about jade jewelry. Okay, he's also a very good salesman. I didn't want to write it for him because I was busy. So he said, well, and then he asked me, "Do you love your wife?" I said, "Yes." What do I want to say, right? And then he said, "Do you buy your wife diamonds?" I said, "Well, already, quite a few." And then he said, "Wow, did you buy your wife jade jewelry?" I said, I didn't. Then he sold me. Then I wrote a case for him. You see, so both sides. And that's actually a very interesting, conversation. And I think one of your colleagues at SIPS like to use the case because J-Link is actually most operations in Shanghai. So 1, 2, 3. The third one, emphasizes individuals. So CUHK is actually very easy to write because the CEO, now the managing director actually came to us because he knew that we do a lot of social enterprise things. So he had a heroic story, and he came and wanted to tell me about it. So that's easy. Over lunch, I already sold the case to him. So he said yes. Then we are going to write the case. Social activism. Okay, this is something, as I said, there are a lot of people like Diamond Cap. You guys know Diamond Cap, the wheelchair cap, so you can push the cap up in the taxi. So the founder is a social activist. He always wants people to write about them. Okay, so again, this is easy. If you have the idea of writing social enterprises and you can talk to them in the same language, then we could do it. Solicited customers. Sometimes I'll ask people to pay. Okay, all of you suddenly look at me. Yes, I ask people to pay to cover my costs. Hugh doesn't like this practice. He said, "Wow, that will bias me in writing a case." Yes and no. As I said, when I wrote the contract, I already told them that this is my case, no, not your case. Okay, I wrote your case because that's your honor. I wrote your case, something like that. Okay, and they love it. And you know what? And people pay. If they pay, they actually give a lot of time for you because they want that thing to be delivered. So sometimes it's not a bad idea. And really, we also need to cover expenses of case writer. Like Rebecca is expensive, so we need to pay her. So we need to get money. Difficulties. I guess it's quite clear. Resources. Sometimes you need to find competent case writers that can work with you. I work with a number of different case writers, and not every time is happy or satisfactory. So it's not easy. Your time, like our time, is the most precious. We have multiple things to do, and writing cases may not be our top priority. Protagonist delay. Okay, as I said, some protagonists they were enthusiastic in the very beginning. Okay, but they don't pay. Okay, they don't care. Once they talk to you and you want to come back to them for more information, they may delay. And if this being delayed, the case is not current, and everybody lose the momentum, and you may end up not able to finish the case in time. Some of them may refuse to sign off until you add some of their PR stuff in it. That happens. Okay, then sometimes you need to compromise to a certain extent. But so what? I mean, I don't think it's a major problem if it's just a PR materials, because I think we also need to get the students excited with the PR materials. Vivid examples, students will be more likely to use the case and like the case. Matching teaching objectives and content. Okay, you see my notes here, right? So basically, the difficulty is this. There are multiple things you can do with a case. And you usually have a plan, right? I guess the guest speaker mentioned, you have patches. Like, you like the students are like ships, right? You move them around. But then there are multiple objectives that could be illustrated in a case. And in my usual practices, I wrote the case teaching notes together with the case. So I plan, as you can see here, on the left side is kind of like the case content. On the right side is kind of thinking about the teaching note. Okay, so you sometimes you have constant struggle. Like you need to juggle what's possible from the objectives, what's possible for you to teach, what makes you excited to teach. Okay, so that's sometimes difficult, I would say. Get the students to like and colleagues to read the case is always a challenge. Okay, with teaching notes is useful. I think video is also very useful. Maybe not our own video, but YouTube. Yeah, if you make it available, that's people will be more likely to use the case. So usually I would include a YouTube kind of clips. Okay, like Diamond Cap, I'll include a clip of a YouTube interview on the teaching note, so that when people like searching for case and they see the teaching note and they see, oh, there's actually a link, then they will love, more likely to adopt the case to use. Student, it's kind of difficult. You have to prepare the student because it's two-way. Particularly the way that Terence and I use the case, we use it as a constructive, what I call constructivism kind of classroom. So you discuss with the student to construct some knowledge at the classroom. So there's two-way. You need to get the student excited. Yeah, so you need to do some buy-in, right? You need to lecture them to get them excited, choose the right case, and things like that, so that the student become interested. And as I said, there's always edutainment. It's not teaching, it's edutainment, right? I guess our process, you have this. So I guess I won't, because of time, I don't want to go through all of them. So there are several processes as I see it. You contact, you negotiate, maybe you have charge. But you're filling out the interest of teaching topics with the protagonist, because if he's not interested, he's not going to give you a lot of information. Sign agreements. I usually sign agreements, and there are examples. If you want, I can show you some examples we sign. Preparation. Before the interview and things like that, you do the preparation of the cases. The company, and sometimes I also do some search on what are cases available. And some of the colleagues some colleagues are very nice. They sometimes summarize what they see, right? So when we were writing the Minota case, there was a colleague at ZIPS called Klaus Meyer. So he maybe a few months back, he solicited people to give him cases about headquarters subsidiary relationships. Okay, so we already know what are the cases available on this topic, and he point out the holes, the gaps. So it's a very useful note. So I took a look at his notes and understand what's the gap between headquarters subsidiary relationships. So when I'm planning to write Minota Konica, I will be addressing those gaps so that people will use the case much likely. Writing, well, you have a diagram, so I'm going to repeat. Publishing, okay. So as I said, you have the body, case body, you have the note, you should have a video, and the day view. So the day view is to prove the case, going to be useful and things like that before you send. So I guess it's routine. Let me know if you have any questions. My personal journey. Okay. Case learning is going to go deep. Okay. What's going to be judged as successful is students talk about the case with you, right? And then they will talk about the case among themselves. And maybe 1 year later, they will come back to you and say, oh, the case, well, I don't remember the name, but you talk about how headquarters and subsidiaries will work together. Then that's successful. Okay, you don't cover the breadth. It's the depth that's most important. Don't do it if the case is not exciting to you, because you are going to be an entertainer. Okay, if you are not excited, then it's very difficult to make like the audience excited. You can use the case many times, different occasions. So you invest a lot of time in writing a case, I can tell you. And sometimes you ask yourself whether it's justified. I can pick, there's so many textbooks now. I could pick up a textbook, use a PowerPoint included in the textbook, and then do a lecture. Does it justify me to do all the planning, all the difficulties? I would say yes. Okay, if you write a good case, you can use it in different areas like undergrad, like MBA, sometimes even executive training. Okay, and you don't need to prepare too much, even when you are doing those kind of teaching, because you wrote the case from start to the end, and you use it every time you use it, you practice it, so you gain new knowledge out of teaching, so you become more and more an expert. So I think it is going to pay off. And you learn many things when you write cases, like you'll be able to put together different books. Like this one is a book put together, not my book, like a book I like. This is about venture capital, written by a professor, like in the area very famous for venture capital. He's called George Lerner. So he compiled his cases related to venture financing. This is actually all the cases he would use in his class. So you can take a look. I mean, if when you're doing this, you think about what you need to do. To write a case, you'll be able to kind of connect all the dots. So you learn a lot of that. And this one is written by a friend of mine called John Lowe. Okay, he's an angel investor. So there's a new book just came out. I wrote a chapter here as well. So we compile a number of mini cases. I remember someone here asked mini cases. So we actually have a couple of mini cases around Asia. So by doing these cases, we learn, and then we were able to from the cases, we have new knowledge coming out, and then we were able to write books like this. So if you are interested, you could also take a look. What else? You compile all the cases together. You can also have books like this, okay? And I would say this book is about winners out of the Hong Kong Social Enterprise Challenge, okay, for the past 10 years. So these are cases that we could use in teaching for discussion, not like short discussion, not for long discussion. So if you are interested, okay. So that's what I want to kind of conclude with this. You can publish academic articles with cases as well, okay. May not always be top journal. I mean, it's difficult to come by. Like even if you are writing so-called traditional paper, like the rejection rate is 90-something%. So if you're writing a case and send it to a top journal, it happens that it's always just likely to be rejected like other publications. So we don't need to worry too much about it. My students over there say we are working on some cases on philanthropy. So maybe we'll have some cases out. Maybe at least we have some teaching cases. All right. Do I take questions or we?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll take a few questions. I see the foot over there. I mean, it's kind of difficult to concentrate. but let's say a couple of questions if you have.
Kevin,
Yeah.
Could we know, say, if we want to publish in Ivy or Harvard, what are their criteria?
I don't know about Harvard. I never published in Harvard. Like Terence got me to publish in Ivy, so I've been doing in Ivy. The criteria, the case has to be definitely interesting and current, and there's enough teaching materials inside for people to teach a class of 1 hour to 1.5. With teaching notes, it's very, very useful, and they usually ask you to, definitely the case has to be written up logically, with throughout research on the subjects. And if you are writing for Ivy, sometimes they ask you to refer to some cases, like in the teaching notes published by Ivy. Yeah. What else, Terence?
Well, it's important to get an institutional-wide agreement because they don't take any cases.
And what? Outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So CU has a agreement with,
Yeah.
because it's set up by you, so we now have that advantages. So if you guys are working with any of our colleagues, let's say, because I guess not all of you are affiliated with CU, I think our colleagues will be able to get you published in Ivy. Harvard, I don't know. Harvard, he talked to one of the representatives.
Yeah, I mean, we currently have an agreement that was negotiated that was signed in 2011 with Ivy, so it was signed after Terrence left. And that's an active agreement, and Ivy has a co-publishing agreement with Harvard, so anything that we publish in Ivy, then after an elapse of time and there's a small probability of not being accepted, would actually then be co-published in Harvard's website as well, with our logo and with Ivy's logo. But the question is, if we wanted to go straight into Harvard, what we need to present if we were doing an application to Harvard would be a substantial number of cases that have not been published elsewhere, plus a commitment to through continuing flow. So that would be a strategic decision if we wanted to do that kind of an application that typically would have to be made at the dean's level.
And they need to review a collection of at least 25 cases first
Yes.
before they
Yes.
accept you. And you need to give them a plan to show that you will continuously increasing the collection over the years.
Yes, so a body and a flow.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, but if you just want your case to be on like the Harvard like school publishing, you by publishing Ivy, you'll be able to do it. So this my cases on. If you search the Harvard school website, you also see my cases and my colleagues' case who are written, who are published in Ivy. So, but in order to do go into what like the formal partner or something with Harvard, then
Well,
we
it's
have
the
to.
same kind of agreement that Ivy has with Harvard.
Yeah.
But of course, Ivy's had that for as long as they've been around publishing on the web.
Yeah.
But would they prefer local cases, say for our?
No, I don't think so.
Or,
It has to be substantive, like meaningful case. I don't think
But that
they.
means our chance will be lower if we write cases in local context?
No, it's the same. No.
Actually, I think they will be very interested in
Yeah.
having more Asian and China cases.
Yeah.
They are very interested in cases from this region.
Yes, but particularly mainland China, maybe Hong Kong. Hong Kong is fine. Hong Kong is fine, but mainland China is better.
Kevin, do you have like a standardized, commercialized plan for your case writing, or is only for your own interest? Just
Commercialized plan? What do you mean? I want to sell.
Yeah. For example, you.
I want to make but selling case will not make you rich. Did we say that? You said that already, right? Don't think that this is not a career plan. By writing cases will not unless you are working for Harvard, because Harvard they have different tracks. So if you are in the teaching track, you have to write I can't remember 20 or 30 cases a year. So that could if you're a good case writer and you work for Harvard, then you can have a career. But by writing cases, you won't get rich. Is it?
Just for example, would there be any open platform or transparent pricing schedule? For example, I have a company going to be listed, but I want to be exposed to
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
Oh yes, I do. Yeah.
So you do.
We can talk about it later. You see, I didn't list my clients,
Okay.
so I don't want to show the name. But we can talk about it. Yeah, since Rebecca's here too, so she can help me to write a plan. The more, the better, right? Yeah. Yeah, we do. Kind of like a figure, but for smaller company, large company, we charge a bit different because the work would be a bit different. I have to say, yeah. Yes.
What is your experience about case teaching with undergrads? What is the challenges?
Undergrads usually don't understand the importance of discussion. So what Terrence said, they're usually more passive in answering questions, and maybe some of them need some time to start appreciating the teaching. Many of them would. When you first started, they thought this is a waste of their time. Why don't you just tell me straight what you want to tell me? What's the answer? Are you going to test in examination? Something like that. Yeah. But sometimes people start appreciate because they know if this also takes your skills, right? If you can get them quite a lot of them to participate and get excited, and they can get some feeling about, aha, I haven't thought about it. Okay, then in the next class, they may start to try and engage more. And you also need to think about a way to get them prepared before class. Yeah, if they don't prepare, then they can't. More to add?
Well, and also pick a topic that really speaks to them. I mean, something that they feel interesting. I mean, it has to be quite current.
Yeah, that's true too. Yes, yeah. They don't have much history, right? You talk about Philips. Philips' case like last 30-something years. There's so many versions of
that's
case.
right,
Another thing I found it challenging is how could you pitch a different opinion in an undergrad class, because they usually try not to conflict with their classmates. So you have to kind of nurture that kind of atmosphere. Tell them that you can always let's agree to disagree, something like that. So then people will students will be comfortable to say something different from his classmates. What about you? You have any experiences?
I'm quite new to case teaching.
Okay.
I find it very similar. They're very passive. And
Yeah.
They may not come prepared prior to class.
So you end up telling the story instead
I
of
use a
doing discussion.
very short case, mini case.
Yeah, that may help. Yeah, that may help.
Okay.
And another thing I did was sometimes I'll ask a student read the case, and then I'll give them 20 minutes to read the case, and then I'll encourage them, well, it's okay, you read the case yourself, or you discuss the case among your small group of classmates. Then that can help them to get familiar with the case. Yeah, but it takes time. If you are interested, you can come to my class and see how I use it. I think Anna went to my class a couple of times to see how I use it. How was it? How was it? You see a student passive or?
It was interactive. It's better than I expected. I expected that very few people read the cases. However, I think it's because of quite a number of exchange students.
That's true
They
too.
more active.
That's true too. Yes, yes. 1/3 of my students speaking at that time. 1/3, maybe 1/4.
1/4 to 1/3.
Yeah, but that's already an active, lively discussion already, right? So other people will be able to listen and then they learn from it.
Talking about Uber, that I think is a very hot topic.
That's true too. So she went to a case called, it's a Harvard case. It's a long case. I only use part of it because there's no way undergrads will be able to understand all. So it's a case about how Uber SC, Uber SC, Airbnb, and one more, I can't remember. Yeah, so all of them are kind of platform companies, how they acquire the first 1,000 customers. So so the case is actually quite straightforward, not a very complicated case. Another case I used was Dropbox. Then that case was very complicated. Then I actually teach the first part, and then I work with the student through the calculation, because the case actually were able to allow the students to calculate the lifetime value and the customer acquisition cost. But the undergraduate, they have the idea, but they don't know how to work through. So I end up working through all the calculations with them. So Anna asked me to talk about different kind of cases. So in say, Dropbox case is actually not just a case about management. It's also could be a case about finance, marketing, and accounting. So depending on how you use it.
Are there any differences when you write cases in different disciplines, like accounting, finance, etc.?
I can't say enough because I'm management, I'm basically a management professor. I wrote about family business and entrepreneurship. I'm writing a case on a young startup that I want to focus on fundraising, so entrepreneurial financing. So I think the approach I would take in this case would be could be quite different. I'll be modeling on Joshua, the Josh Lerner's book. So he wrote quite a few cases about how entrepreneurial financing. So I'll be modeling on it. So there should be some legal thing in there. I'll have some term sheets. I'll have some calculation about how to evaluate startups. So I'll probably be different. I don't know. You guys? You're a finance professor?
Well, no, but I think any time that you're writing a case, you have to have the prof that's teaching the course that has the domain expertise
That's right.
and he or she will bring that in, and typically that domain expertise or that information that's necessary to analyze that will have to be in the case or the exhibits of the case.
Yes.
And so the point that's being taught will drive the content of the case, and the points differ slightly, or don't differ slightly, the points differ across the disciplines that are taught in the business school. So a case is contrived reality, it is real, but it's contrived by bringing in information that is necessary to analyze questions that are important to the profs that are teaching or the instructors that are teaching that case.
I guess contrived is a better word than fabricated.
Yes, I winced when you said
I like fabricated though.
I don't like fabricated.
Well, but Hugh, I think Hugh and I share the same like views when we design a case. So that's why we have the body and the teaching note here. So when as an instructor, when you go into when you write a case, right, you already have something you want to teach, like not like really specific, but you already have something you want to drive with the case when you go in. Okay, I guess I don't agree with some of my colleagues who use who allow the case writers to write the whole thing. Basically, we design the case as an instructor because we are the person going to use the case. I'm going to be the person making students excited, so it has to be my case to some extent. Good. Yeah, it looks like everybody's happy so far. Food is there. We'll be sticking around for questions anyway.
Right,
Okay.
we may actually share more